Hey you guys, so we are going to be going over the end of semester test review, so follow along. Alright, so number one says to solve for x, so that means we're just trying to get this x by itself. So the first thing we're going to do is subtract 18 from both sides. So when we do that, we're going to have negative 5x is less than, we're going to have negative 42 minus 18. So if we come over here, we're going to have negative 42 minus 18, and that is going to give us negative 60. So negative 60. Last thing to do to get x by itself, we're going to have to divide by negative 5. So divide both sides by negative 5, we're going to be left with x. When we divide by a negative, we're going to have to switch our signs. That means we're going to have greater than, and then we're going to have negative 60 divided by, not minus 5, divided by negative 5, and that is going to give us a positive 12. So our answer is x is greater than 12. All right, for number 2, so we're going to use our PEMDAS over here. So PEMDAS. All right, so parentheses. We're going to start with parentheses. So we're going to simplify. 6 plus 4 is going to be 10 times 5 squared all over 6 plus, and what is inside the parentheses? 2 times 2 is 4. All right, so we have done parentheses. Now we need to do our exponents. So our exponents, we're going to have 10 plus 10 times 5 times 5, which is 5 squared, 25 all over. We can reduce this bottom. 6 plus 4 is 10. So now we have covered our exponents. Now on to multiplication. So we're going to have 10 plus 10 times 25, which is 250 all over 10. So multiplication. Then we have to finish what is on top. So 10 plus 250 is 260 divided by 10. 260 divided by 10 is going to be 26. Our final answer is 26. All right, moving on to some graphing inequalities. We are going to have the graph of y is greater than 2. So we're going to start with graphing. We're going to start graphing here. Y is greater than 2. Y is always going to be a horizontal line. Okay, since y is greater than 2, that means y has to be bigger than 2. Greater is above, so we are going to shade up top here. Okay. X is less than negative 4. So if x is less than negative 4, we're going to plot negative 4. X is going to be a vertical line. Since we don't have that or equal to underneath the inequality sign, since it's just less than, it is a dashed line. And since x is less than that, it is less than negative 4, less than is going to be over here. All right. Number 4. So it says write the new equation if y equals 2/3 x plus 2 is translated down 5 units. So what we're going to do down 5 units just means that we're going to subtract 5 from our y-intercept. So plus 2, and we're subtracting 5. So since these are our like terms, our new equation is going to be 2/3 x minus 3. So that is your final equation. All right, write the equation of a line with a slope of 2/3 containing the point 3, negative 5 in slope-intercept form. The formula that we are talking about is this formula right here, which will be given to you on the board. So we're going to plug in points for y1, m, and x1. We're going to have x1, y1 as that 3, negative 5, and our slope is our m value. So our equation is going to say y minus negative 5 equals 2/3 x minus 3. Minus a negative is always going to change to a plus. So y plus 5, distribute our 2/3. We're going to have 2/3 x. Then, instead of doing that in our heads, we can do 2 divided by 3. So 2/3 times negative 3. And that is going to give us negative 2. So negative 2. Last step, we have to get y by itself. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So y is going to equal 2/3 x. Negative 2 minus 5 more. We're getting more negative. It's going to be negative 7. Alright, moving on to the next page. Graph 4x minus 2y equals 10. So to graph, we always solve for y. So we're going to solve for y right here. So 4x minus 2y equals 10. So to get y by itself, we are going to subtract 4x from both sides. So that's gone. Negative 2y equals, since 10 and 4x are not like terms, we are going to leave them as 2 separate terms. And we are going to divide by negative 2, divide everything through by negative 2. Y equals negative 4 divided by negative 2 is a positive 2. 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. So we are graphing y equals 2x minus 5. Remember, for our slope, we can always put that over 1. So we're going to graph our y-intercept of negative 5. And then our slope is up 2 and to the right 1. Up 2 and to the right 1. We can keep doing this as long as you want. We can also, from our original point, go down 2 and to the left 1. So we have this line here. That is our line. On number 7, I don't know why we use these funky letters, but it's 3x plus 16 is going to be too far off the graph, so I changed that to an 8. So 3x plus 8. So we're going to go up to our y-intercept of 8. Then we can go up 3 and over 1, which will give us that point up here, or we can always go down 3 and to the left 1 a couple times. Then we're just going to connect our points, something like that. There is our line. Alright, on number 8, solving for y. So we need to get y by itself. So we're going to subtract 6x from both sides. So 2y, again, this 2 and the negative 6x are not like terms. One has an x and one doesn't. So they have to stay separate. So we are going to keep them as 2 separate terms. Divide through by 2 on everything. Y equals negative 3x plus 1. Alright, number 9. 15 is what percent of 125? So we have percent over 100 equals is over of. It says 15 is. 15 is. That means 15 is or is of 25 is going to be our of 25. And then what percent? So our percent is our unknown. So what percent is our x value? It's our unknown. So we're going to have x over 100 equals is, which is 15 over of, which is 125. So we are going to cross multiply. So 15 times 100, x times 125. So 125x equals 15 times 100. We're going to end up dividing both sides by 125. And if we do that, we're going to have 15 times 100 and divide it by 125 for a total answer of 12. All right. Now, what is 15%? So there we are with our percent. So percent over 100 equal is over of. So again, we're going to have our of 125. We have our what is. So our is our unknown. And we have our percent. Okay, so 15 over 100. What? That's our unknown. X over our of, which is 125. So just like normal, we are going to cross multiply and divide. So we will have 15 times 125 equals 100x. Then we're going to have to divide both sides by 100. So 15 times 125 divided by 100, and x is going to equal 18.75. All right, find the domain and the range. So our domain is going to be our x values and our range is our y's. This should not be new news. So if we look at this line here, our domain, our x values, the smallest x value we have is this one right here. So that means our smallest x value is at -3. And our largest x value is at +3. Okay, so x is between -3 and 3. Another way to write that, if you look at our dots, we do have closed dots on the end. So that means if we have hard brackets, we're going to have -3 and +3. So that is our domain. Now we have our range. So our range is going to be our y values. So our highest y value is here at 1. So our y value, our highest one is 1. Our lowest one is down at -4. Again, we do have those closed in circles. So we have -4 and 1. All right, number 11, what is the range of the function f of x equals -4x plus 1 if the domain is 2, -5, and 6? So again, our domain is our x coordinates, our range is our y's. So basically what it's asking us to do is solve for y if we plug in this x 3 different times. So we're going to have y equals -4 times 2 plus 1. So that's plugging in our first of 2. So we're going to have -8 plus 1, -7. So there's one value. The next one, we're going to have -4 times -5 plus 1. Negative times negative is a positive. 4 times 5 is 20 plus 1. So y equals 21. And our last one, y equals -4 times 6 plus 1. -4 times 6 is -24. So that's going to give us -23. So our three answers are going to be -7, 21, and -23. All right, next. It's asking what is the domain, what is our x value, if the range is these values. So now we have to plug in for our y values. So our function is 3x minus 6, and we're going to plug in different numbers for this g of x. So we're going to have 0 equals 3x minus 6. So to get x by itself, we're going to add 6 to both sides. 6 equals 3x, divide by 3, and x equals 2. And then we have to plug in -9. So -9 equals 3x minus 6. So same thing, we're going to have to add 6 to both sides. -9 plus 6 is -3. So -3 equals 3x, divide by 3. And -1 equals x. And our last one, we're going to have 12 equals 3x minus 6. Add 6 to both sides. 18 equals 3x. Divide by 3, and x equals 6. So our domain values are going to be 2, -1, and 6. All right, number 13. So it says the school that Jordan goes to is selling tickets to a choral performance. On the first day, the ticket sales, they had 6 senior citizen tickets and 4 children's tickets for $42. The school took in, $42. The school took in $71 on the second day by selling 10 senior citizen tickets and 7 children's tickets. So write the system. So remember I told you all in class, all we had to do was write the system. We did not have to find the price. You will do that next semester. So we have 6 senior citizen tickets, 4 children's tickets for $42. So we're going to have 6S. S is going to be our senior tickets. C is going to be our children's tickets. So 6S plus 4C gave us a total of $42. Then our second one said $71 for 10 senior citizens tickets and 7 children's tickets. So 10S plus 7C equals 71 on the second day. And that is our final equation. All right, on a map, 1 inch represented 4 miles. The distance between a restaurant and a hotel is 5 inches. So 5 inches means we're going to be going 20 miles. So you can do this on a, in a proportion. So if you had 1 inch over 4 miles, you would have 5 inches over x miles. Cross multiply, 1x equals 4 times 5, so x equals 20. All right, list the following fractions from least to greatest. So we have 4/5, 3/2, 1/4, and 1/8. So listing them from least to greatest means we have to list them based on their smallest decimal size. So if we do that, we can check 4 divided by 5. So 4 divided by 5 is going to give us a decimal of 0.8. 4/5 is 0.8. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. Then we're going to have 1 divided by 4 is 0.25, and 1 divided by 8 is going to give us 0.125. So our smallest one, if you think of this in terms of cents or money, Our biggest one is obviously going to be this one. So 1.5 is our biggest. So going down from there, our next one, 0.8, would be the same as saying you had 80 cents. So that's our biggest one. Then 0.25 is going to be our next one. And our last one is going to be 0.125. That is our smallest one. So our fractions are going to go 1 over 8, 1 over 4, 4 over 5, and 3 over 2. Okay. Next one. Again, on this one, we do not have to find the cost. Just want y'all to write the equations. So, writing the equations, we are going to read the question. So, Matt and Ming are selling fruit. They can buy small boxes of oranges and large boxes of oranges. So there are two variables, small boxes and large boxes. So I'm going to let S be small boxes, L be large boxes. So Matt sold 3 small boxes, so 3S, and 14 large boxes. So 14 large for $203. Ming sold 11 small and 11 large for $220. So there is your system right here. Number 17, the following table describes the cost of renting a jet ski on Lake Texoma. What is the initial charge? So our initial charge is just going to be what we start out with, or our y-intercept. So if we look right here, our beginning charge, even if we haven't been on it at all, is $30. So our initial charge is $30. Then it asks what is the hourly rate. So we're going to look at the increase from one to the next, from one to the next. How much is it adding every hour? So from 30 to 80, we're adding 50. And from 80 to 130, we're also adding 50. So the hourly rate is $50 per hour. All right, the perimeter of a rectangle is 36 inches. The length is 6 less than 3 times the width. Write the system of linear equations. Oops. So again, we're just going to write this system. Oh, this one doesn't tell you to solve, so just write the system. So perimeter is 2 length plus 2 width. Okay, and then the length is 6 less than, remember less than, we're going to switch whatever on either side, 3 times the width. So the length is going to be 3 width minus 6. So those are going to be your 2 equations that you are going to use. Okay, number 19, so solve for m. So we want to get this m by itself. So there's 2 things on the other side with the m. We have the v squared and the 2. That v squared is multiplying by the m. The 2 is actually being divided. So let's get rid of that fraction. So we're going to have m equals m over v squared divided by 2. So we're going to take both sides and multiply by 2. So on this side, we will cancel out that fraction. And on the left side, we're going to be left with 2e. And on the right side, we have mv squared. So 2e equals mv squared. The last thing, since we want to get m by itself, the m and the v are multiplying. So the opposite is going to be to divide. So we're going to divide out that v squared. So our final answer would say m equals 2e over v squared. All right, number 20, solve for x. So before we do anything, we're going to have to combine our like terms. So we're going to have 2x and negative 6x, 10 and negative 12. So 2 minus 6 is going to give us a negative 4x. 10 plus 12 is, or plus negative 12, sorry, is negative 2, and that is greater than or equal to 10. Okay, so from there, since we want to get x by itself, we're going to add 2 to both sides. We're going to have negative 4x is greater than or equal to 12. And our last step to get x by itself, we're going to have to divide out that negative 4. As a reminder, when we divide by a negative with inequalities, we are going to flip that sign. So automatically, you're going to flip that sign. We are left with x because it canceled out. Then 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. So there is your answer. All right, number 21, finding your x and y intercepts. So we can do this two ways. We can graph or we can solve. So if we graph, we're going to have to first solve for y, just like always. So subtract 3x minus 3x. We'll have negative 12y equals negative 3x minus 24. To get y by itself, we're going to divide through by negative 12. So y is equal to negative 3x divided by negative 12. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. 3 divided by 12, that can be reduced to 1 over 4x. Negative 12 divided, or negative 24 divided by negative 12. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, and that's 2. So we are graphing 1/4 x plus 2. So our y-intercept is going to be 2. And our slope is 1 over 4. So going up 1 and over 4, up 1 and over 4. If we do it the other way, down 1 to the left 4, down 1 to the left 4. And we can graph it. So we have our y-intercept here, and our x-intercept here. So our x-intercept is going to be at negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At negative 8. So if we put that into a coordinate point, this is going to be 0, 2. This is going to be negative 8, 0. If you don't want to do it by graphing, you can plug it in. So for your y-intercept, you'll notice your x is 0. So we're going to plug in 0 for x minus 12y equals negative 24. So negative 12y equals negative 24. Divide both sides by negative 12 and y equals 2. Then for our x-intercept, our y equals 0. So that means we're going to plug in 0 for y. Equal to negative 24. So that's 0. So 3x equals negative 24. Divide by 3, divide by 3, and x equals negative 8. So that is how you can find it by algebra, or this is the algebra side. Or you can find it by graphing. Either is okay. All right, x and y intercepts. So your x-intercept is where y equals 0. Your y-intercept is where x equals 0. So let's find where x equals 0. So x equals 0 right here. So that means your y-intercept equals 5. Then we have our y-intercept is where, or our x-intercept is where y equals 0. So y equals 0 right here. So our x-intercept equals 15. So that one goes there, and that one goes there. All right, we have another equation to write. A city bus collected $603 in fares in one day. The price of a regular fare was $1.50. The price of a discounted fare was 80 cents. The total of 500 people paid the fare. Write the system that can be used to solve. So write the system. We are not going to figure out the money. So we're going to have one equation with money, and we're going to have one equation with total tickets. So we know we have regular fares. I'm going to let R be our regular fares and D be our discounted fares. So it tells us that we sold a total of 500 tickets. So that means regular fares plus discounted fares equals 500 tickets. Okay? Then we're going to have the money equation. So our money equation, we're going to have $1.50 of our regular fares plus 80 cents for our discounted fares for a total of $603. So one equation that deals with the money, the price of the tickets, and then one equation that just deals with the total number of tickets sold. All right. If the following graph represents the cost to rent a seat cushion at the football game, what is the initial cost to rent the cushion? So again, initial cost. It's your y-intercept. It's where x equals 0. So we're going to extend this line down. It looks like we are going to have an initial cost of $2. All right, using linear regression, find the function that describes the data. So linear regression, we are going to go into stat and edit. And we're going to type these numbers in. So 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. And we're going to go over to our L2. We have 6, 2, -2, -6, -10, and -14. So to run our linear regression, we are going to go to stat, calc, and then if you look number 4, linear regression, enter, enter, calculate our linear regression. So it tells us y equals ax plus b, where our a equals -2 and b equals 6. So we're going to have the equation y equals -2x plus 6. Then it tells us to find f of -23. So we are going to plug -23 in for x. So we're going to have -2 times -23 plus 6. Okay. So y equals -2 times -23. -2 times -23. We're going to get 46 plus 6. So y equals 52. Remember, stat, edit, stat, calc, 4. All right, solve for r. So if we notice we have this pi on the other side with the r, we want to get rid of that. So since that pi and the r are multiplying, we are going to divide by pi. So a divided by pi equals r squared. To get rid of our squared, opposite of squared is square root. So we are going to square root both sides. Square root, square root. That square root is going to cancel out that square. So the square root of a over pi equals r. And that is all we can do. It looks messy, but we're just going to leave it that way. All right. Sean bought 10 CDs for $8.50 each and a CD player for $55. Write a linear equation to model his purchase. So 10 CDs for $8.50 each. That means he spent $8.50 per CD. So $8.50 times X. And then he also spent $55 on the CD player. So $8.50 per CD and $55 for the CD player. All right, this following data. So mean, median, and mode. First thing I'm going to do is rewrite it in order. So if we write this in order from least to greatest, we are going to have 78, 82, 86, 78, 82, 86, 90, 92, 92, 98, and 100. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 values, 8 values. So our mean, that's our average. So we're going to add all these numbers up. 78 and 82 plus 86 plus 90 plus 92 plus 92 plus 98 plus 100. Okay, after we get that number, we are going to divide it by the total number of tests that there were. There's 8 tests, so divide by 8, and the mean is going to be 89.75. All right, so that is our mean. Then we have mode. Our mode is our most often. So the only number that occurs more than once is this 92. So our mode is 92. Okay, and then we have our median. Our median is the middle. So if we start from the outer rings, we're going to have 78 and 100 gone, 82 and 98, 86 and 92. And you notice we actually have 2 in the middle. So we're going to take 90 plus 92, and we're going to divide that by 2. So 90 plus 92 is 182 divided by 2, and we get 91. So the median has a value of 91, the mode is 92, and the mean is 89.75. All right, solving for n. So just like last time, when we have a fraction, we're going to multiply by the denominator right away to cancel out that fraction. Get that out of there. So we're going to have 3p equals q times n. Since we're multiplying, our opposite is going to be to divide. So we're going to divide q out. So n is going to equal 3p divided by q. All right, next we have solving for x. So solving for x, we're going to get all of our x's on one side. I'm going to add 5x to this side. So we're going to have 8x minus 12 equals 28. Then we still need to get our x's alone, so we're going to add 12 to both sides. So 8x is going to equal 40. Divide by 8, and x equals Alright guys, we're getting there. Next, simplify. So we're going to be combining like terms. So if we look, we got an x and an x, a y squared and a y squared, and a lonely x cubed. I'm going to pull that x cubed out front. Then we have 4x plus 6x and negative 3y squared minus 8y squared. So now we just have to combine our like terms. So we had these two and those two. So 4x plus 6x is 10x. Negative 3y squared minus 8y squared. We're going to have negative 3 minus 8 for negative 11y squared. So that here is our final answer. Alright, next we have solving with fractions. Solving with fractions, we're going to want to get this x in the fraction by itself. So we're going to add 22 to both sides. So negative 14 plus 22 is going to give us 8. So 4 over 5x equals 8. Then what we can do is multiply both sides by the opposite fraction. So the upside down fraction, because we want it to cancel out. So we're going to have 8 times, and we have our fraction has to go in parentheses. Very, very, very important. Go in parentheses. 8 times 5 over 4. This fraction cancels out, and x equals 10. Another way you can do that, if we have 4 over 5x equals 8, you can multiply by 5. So 4x equals 40. And then divide by 4, so x equals 10. Either way works, just got to know how to do one of them. All right, write two linear equations such that their graphs are parallel. So if they're parallel, the slopes must be the same. Oops, same. So slopes must be the same. So for example, we could have y equals 2x plus 1 and y equals 2x minus 5. As long as the number that is in front of your x is the same, they are going to be parallel. Alright, solving for r. So first we can go ahead and distribute. So 4r plus 40 minus 3 equals 5. 40 minus 3 is 37. So then we're going to subtract 37 from both sides. For r equals, and we're going to have 5 minus 37, which is negative 32. So divide by 4, and r equals negative 8. Alright, so on this one, instead of drawing a pie chart, I want you to find the measure of the central angle. So this is like what we did on that project when you guys had to find the measure of the central angle. And we're going to do this for extra cheese. So find the measure of the central angle for your extra cheese category. So if we add all of these up together, we're going to have a total of 500 total responses. All right, so 500 total responses. So 75 out of 500 people said extra cheese. So we're going to find the percent of that. So our percent here is unknown. So we're going to cross multiply. 75 times 100 equals 500x. And when we divide by 500, we're going to get x to be 15. So that means 15% of people responded they want extra cheese. So then we are going to use 15 out of 100 to find what angle out of 360 we need the central angle to be. So here's our first step over here, calculating the percent, and the second step is calculating the angle. So again, we're going to cross multiply. 15 times 360 equals 100x. So we're going to end up dividing both sides by 100. And x comes to be 54. All right, you guys, we are almost there. All right, simplifying a radical. So when we simplify a radical, if y'all remember, we are going to break 80 down into its factor tree. So 80 is going to break down into 2 and 40. 40 can be multiplied by 2 and 20. 20 can be 2 and 10. 10 can be 2 and 5. Now we just have a bunch of prime numbers. So that is what we need. Okay, as a reminder, we're going to circle the pairs of numbers. So when we circle the pairs of numbers, we are going to circle, we have 2 and 2, 2 and 2, and 5 is left on as lonesome. So we are going to have the square root, the square root, we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. So here we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. Okay? 5 is going to be boxed because 5 does not have a pair. So 5 is going to be boxed. We'll circle our pairs. For our pairs, we're going to bring one of each out front. So we're going to bring 2 2's out front. Then we're going to have our radical and our 5. So we brought 1 2 right there and 1 2 from there. So then multiply those together and we have 4 root 5. Okay? To check yourself, what we can do is we can calculate the square root, second, and then square root of 80. And that comes out to be 8.94427 blah blah blah. And then we can calculate this one right here, 4 root 5. So same thing, 4 second square root of 5. And look, it's the exact same number. So that's exactly what we need. That is how you can check yourself on your test. Last one. All right. The vertical lines means absolute value, which is always positive. All right, always positive. So 5 minus 15 is going to give us negative 10. So we're going to have the square root of x plus 3 equals the absolute value of negative 10. Since it's an absolute value, that means it's positive 10. So we're going to drop the absolute values and drop the negative. Then we're just going to solve like normal. We're going to get that x by itself. Subtract 3 from both sides. Square root of x is 10 minus 3, which is 7. Then to undo the square root, we're going to square both sides. So cross out, and x equals 49. You can always check yourself. We're going to have 49 plus, the square root of 49 plus 3 equals the absolute value of 5 minus 15. So absolute value of 49 plus 3. We already said the absolute value of 5 minus 15 is positive 10. The square root, second square root of 49 is going to be 7. So 7 plus 3 equals 10. 10 equals 10. So you can check yourself by plugging your numbers in. All right, you guys, that's all that we have for your final. Please, please, please make sure that you go over or look over anything else that you might need help with. And if not, then I will see y'all in the morning.